Simon & Schuster Audio presents Kenny and the Dragon by Tony DiTerlizzi. Read by Alan Cumming.
Before I forget, many years ago. Hold on. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking a book about a dragon should start with Once Upon a Time, but this one doesn't, because frankly I don't really know what Once Upon a Time means. Now, I was once upon a horse, and that was fun. Also, I was once upon a knight galloping on his horse, but that's another story altogether. So instead, let me start our tale with this. Once upon a farm, in a town just west from yours, and on a Wednesday many years ago, a rabbit farmer, his wife, and their son Kenneth were preparing to sit down to supper. Now, Kenneth seems a little formal for a boy's name, doesn't it? No kid would say, "Kenneth, can I borrow a pencil?" No, they'd say, "Ken," or "Kenny, can I borrow a pencil?" And no doubt our Kenny would not even notice when they swiped it from his school desk, for you see, Kenny always had his head buried in a book. And he loved to read all sorts of subjects, science, mysteries, histories, and even fairy tales. In fact, fairy tales and natural history were his two favourite topics, and as far as Kenny was concerned, both held the same merit in the real world. So it's not surprising that he enjoyed going to school. He always asked compelling questions, always did his homework, complete with footnotes and a bibliography, and always had fantastic notions about what he wanted to do when he grew up. One day he'd want to be an astronaut and meet extraterrestrials from a distant planet. The next, he'd decide on a jungle explorer looking for living dinosaurs, or he'd build a submersible that could go deep into the ocean to find lost underwater cities. Each day it was something new. "That kid has such an imagination," his English teacher would say. "His identification of local flora and fauna is quite impressive," his science teacher would say. "Kenny Rabbit, he's kinda out there," his classmates would say. And to a certain degree, they were right. You see, like them, Kenny grew up on a farm, and both his mother and father were farmers. They came from generations of farmers who grew vegetables and raised livestock. So his parents, like most of his neighbours, really didn't have time to read books. They were just too busy tending the farm. "You can't harvest corn with a book," his mum would say. "No bookie book's going to bring the sheep in at sundown," his dad would say.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?